Hey friends, book review time. This time it's a double feature. For one of the book clubs I do online, we had to read, it was two different prompts. One was biographical fiction, which is pretty much fact and fiction combined about a actual person, a real person. And then a nonfiction that contains information or is about one of the characters in that biographical fiction. For the biographical fiction, I picked The Second Mrs. Astor by Shayna Abe. It's basically a story that unfolds about Madeline Force, who marries John Jacob Astor the Fourth. He also goes by Jack Astor. This book gave me all kinds of mixed feelings, like all over with the emotions. First, it gave me the ick. Like, she was 17 and he was in his 40s. And I know like age gaps are normal back there in the early 1900s, but even like the socialites in the book thought ick too. Then the courting began, which one might say was priming, but there were flowers and lots of them, so I was kind of digging it. But then came anger, because after they got married, I felt like she was very lonely and isolated due to him being a divorcee, which was taboo back then. And then with her being so young, the people weren't very accepting of her. So I was mad. Why would he put her in that situation? But I mean, she consented to marrying him, so then I was happy because they went off to their honeymoon. They were away from all the bullshit and they really got to connect. And so that was really a nice bit of the book, because then there wasn't as much ick and anger. But then there was sadness. On the way back from their honeymoon, they were on the Titanic. And you might remember him in the movie, but they called him something different. John Jacob Astor. They didn't call him Jack because, well, there was the other Jack. Don't let go, don't let go, Jack. Well, he went down and she survived. So yes, it was kind of all over the place with me, but ultimately it was a nice read. There was a little piece of the book that I wanted to share. Basically, they're talking about how girls debut out into society. So it reads, each new gathering, each new luncheon or dinner held in our honor was conducted in rigid ceremony. Our mothers and grandmothers seemed to be warning us, yes, once and for all, your childhood is over. Womanhood means you must not ever laugh or burp or break wind again. This is how you will marry well. And I just kind of started laughing when I read that because I was like, thank God I'm in these times, because I do all that plus more, and I wouldn't be able to find a husband otherwise. So the nonfiction that I chose to read was called Astor, The Rise and Fall of an American Fortune. It's by Anderson Cooper and Catherine Howe. This book basically follows a timeline of the Astor family, primarily the American ones. There's British ones too. And it starts with the first dude that started it all, John Jacob Astor. He was a German immigrant who started the Astor fortune through fur trade. Actually, Astoria, Oregon, got his name from him actually, as his Pacific Fur Company was stationed at what they called Fort Astoria. However, he never ever came to the Pacific Northwest himself. The story also unfolds others after him, explaining that they gained a lot of their fortune by basically being slumlords. They would lease out tenements, which are tiny, tiny apartments that sometimes housed like 3+ families. Most of the people that were the residents of these were immigrants. They mentioned like Germany and Ireland. They were located like on the Lower East Side of New York. Very unsanitary. Like I said, cramped living style. It was just so that they can afford to basically shelter themselves, these families. I wanted to share a little snip of the book, which I found interesting. It explains that the death rate in some of these tenement areas were 1 in 19. To put that in perspective, during the COVID-19, like the mid COVID-19 pandemic, which I think was like 2021, the death rate was 1 in 119. So yeah, that was an eye opener. And really sad. And then I just kind of thought, so yeah, those getting rich off the poor, that sounds familiar. The book touches on others, such as like Catherine Astor. She was the mom of the Titanic sinky. And she was the one that led the 400, which was in like an exclusive list of high society elite. She was known as like the queen of the Gilded Age. If you watch the HBO Max show called Gilded Age, you will hear a little bit of her story. Then I found it interesting. They talked about Vincent Astor, which was the Queen of Gilded Age's grandson, which was the son of poor Jack that sunk in the Titanic. He was basically the one that ended the slumlording. That's what you call it. He saw the living conditions and just thought it was awful, and so he put forth effort to make like it a better living area for people. What's funny is I hated him in the first book, the second Mrs. Astor. He was a complete ass. But this one, he was kind of a hero. One more person that I'll talk about was Brooke Astor. She died in 2007. She was the age of 105. People probably know the Astor name because of her. Because she gave a shit ton of money to like New York City through like charities, museums, libraries, more. It was her that is considered the last of the American Astor dynasty. The book kept me intrigued, which can be hard for me in a nonfiction. I very much enjoyed it and I do recommend it. My biggest takeaway was just like the whole piece about money. Like, people always want more of it, and even if you have a buttload of it like they did, there was definitely drama. Like, it doesn't solve all the problems. If anything, it maybe creates more. And so yeah, if you read it, you'll understand like all their drama. So anyways, friends, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this review, and until next time, happy reading.